right, folks, we know you patiently waited over 2 months for the season finale of the MotoAmerica Superbike Championship. Season 2 for the series is wrapping up here in Millville, New Jersey, and it's been an absolutely fantastic day. How about race 1 from this morning? As these riders prepare for race number 2, I'm sure that for some of them, this race is on their mind, JP.
Absolutely. Josh Hayes with a great start right from pole position. That's exactly what he needed to do. Kyle Wyman and Roger Lee Hayden trying to get up there second and third as they went through with Jake Gagne in fourth. But Josh Hayes was doing his best to try to escape at the front, but Roger Hayden wasn't having any of it. Cameron Beaubier was just sitting back there watching kind of what was going on with Tony Elias just lurking back there in fourth throughout the entire race. As you see here, Cameron, once he got by Josh, he started pushing really hard. I think he felt, Greg, that if he could win that, he was going to be champion. He was trying to get it going in that first race, win that championship, but Josh Hayes wasn't quite done as he drafted back past Cameron Beaubier, and then immediately after that, as we see a lot, Tony Elias strikes on Cameron Beaubier right again, and it was almost looked like Cameron just got a little disheartened and said, you know what, I don't need to try to push any harder right now. As it came down to the line, Roger had a good lead. Josh pushed him all the way to the line, but just didn't have the grip to get out of that last corner, Greg. And when they came across the line, Raj had a nice little healthy margin of victory, and you see him there with Francois again, Tony Elias, Josh Hayes. I can see a little disappointment in Josh, but it'll be interesting to see if they've made some adjustments to his bike to maybe allow the grip to just be a little bit better towards the end.
All right, so can Jake Gagne head off the season with a win? I don't know. We're going to find out. Stay tuned. Superbike Race 2 coming up. The pre-grid is starting to thin out a little bit here at New Jersey Motorsports Park as we prepare for the final race of the season. It's Superbike Super Stock 1000, and a good look at Monster Energy Graves Yamaha rider Cameron Beaubier right there, left part of your screen. Jake Gagne filling out the front row in the middle, and of course your pole sitter way off there to the right is going to be four-time Superbike champ Josh Hayes. And Jason, it's really kind of the veteran against the veteran. I mean, Cam Beaubier is a young man, but he's got so much experience racing at this level. He's won 2 national championships, one obviously Superbike championship. And although he's nervous at this point, you've got to think that Cam Beaubier has got a good chance of finishing this race in the top 10.
Yeah, you got to think that, but this is racing, Greg.
Anything can happen.
I've had this weird feeling all day long, and I just kind of realized what it is. I kind of get nervous for these guys too, and I think about their crew chiefs. You know, I can't even imagine being a guy that's working on that bike. I would have probably gone over that bike 100 times, as I'm sure they have, because it just comes down to there's so much pressure on the line. As we take a look at our grid here, Josh Hayes, Gagne, Beaubier, Roger, Matthew Skoltz, who led a lot of that Superstock race. Kyle Wyman came from the second row and just got an amazing start. Let's see if Kyle can get his nose back up there and do something. And
let's not forget about Bobby Fong, who won the Superstock 1000 race.
Yep.
Who is going to end this season with a race win in the Superstock 1000 class? Because there are some rule changes that are going to take effect next season that affects Superbikes and Superstock 1000 machines. The Superstock 1000 machines are going to get a little bit more sophisticated.
Yep.
So it kind of depends on the team and what is Bobby Fong going to do. Is he going to be racing in Superstock 1000 again? Will that team move into the Superbike class? So many things yet to be decided as we continue to look back through the field, a very packed grid of racers. Unfortunately, Sheridan Marias, the number 86 rider, will not take the start of this race, so they did adjust the grid. We had 10 rows. Now we only have 9. Sheridan Marias crashed his motorcycle severely earlier on in the day. His team got it back together to race in race number 1, but it couldn't finish the race. So Marias, in his last race of the season, is out. We expect him to be back with the Rapid Transportation team. The real question for that team, Jason, as we watch the warm-up lap here, is what are they going to do? There's the Suzuki weather, 84 degrees, the track temperature, 86 degrees. There is some thought that that team might go down to Super Sport and field Marias on that bike. And after talking to Sheridan about it today, he said, I'm good with whatever. Yep. I would rather be on a top-notch Super Sport machine than a middle-of-the-pack Superstock 1000 machine. And that's not what he's on now. He's on a bike that definitely is capable of sitting on the podium.
Yep.
But it'll be interesting to see with what happens to the South African rider.
Absolutely. And Sheridan, I'm a little bit more familiar with, only because I rode a lot with him over in World Endurance, so I actually knew him before he came over here. And, you know, he's just such a good guy. And again, very talented rider, talented racer. It's nice to see that he wants to make a home here in America and still be coming back here and riding. As the riders come under this bridge for, you know, the last time, our last green light start of the year. And there's a lot on the line. But, you know, just to recap, no matter what happens to Cameron Beaubier in this race, if Cameron doesn't finish, Josh still has to win. That's the main thing. He has to win the race.
That's right.
So even if Cameron had a problem, you know, a motor or whatever, Josh still has to win the race. There's going to be a few guys, and if Tony Elias gets a little bit better start, you kind of get up in that top 3 or 4 or 5 guys earlier in the race than he did the last. You heard him talking about getting stuck behind some of the super stock guys. I think that he's going to be right there, wanting to take that last win also.
So Josh Hayes, if he's going to have a chance to get back the #1 plate that he gave away a couple of years ago, or 2 years ago, at this point, he's going to have to win the race. Kind of like what we saw in the Super Sport race with JD Beach. That's any disaster by Cameron Beaubier, and that's what Hayes has to do. 22 points the difference, 25 for a win. So here we go. The final race of the season is underway from New Jersey Motorsports Park, and Josh Hayes, what a monster launch.
Yeah, Josh Hayes got a great start. I was looking at the number 24. I was keyed in on him, Greg, and look where he's going to go into turn 1. He's going to go into turn 1 in 4th place. Kyle Wyman again, awesome launch on his Yamaha up to 3rd. But we see Josh Hayes and Roger Hayden, the 2 guys that took this race all the way to the end for us in that first race. They are right there together again. And let's see if Kyle can get in there. What is Tony Elias going to do? Is he going to make quick work of Kyle Wyman real soon here, going maybe into turn 5?
Beaubier buried behind number 50, Bobby Fong, who also got a good start. So Bobby Fong, if there's any criticism about Fong, it's his first few laps as he works his head into it. So Fong with a much better start now, just behind the 33 of Wyman, who also got a great launch. So 1, 2, 3, we have those 3 fast Superbike riders with Cam Beaubier sitting right around the 6th spot right now.
So many of these guys are just, hey, everybody here has nothing to lose anymore. There's only 2 guys that are really thinking about anything point-wise, and that's the 2 Yamaha guys. And so Josh has done what he said he needed to do. He's got out front. Roger's going to go with him. I'm sure we're going to see a same pattern. However, there's that little guy right in 3rd place.
Sure
He's going to go by Rod right now, probably down this front straightaway or into turn 1. Although he doesn't look kind of close enough this lap, but it will happen sooner or later. Bobby Fong up to 4th.
Moto2 World Champ Tony Elias. Up, there goes Roger Hayden. Oh, man, that was awfully close. We thought Roger was going to give it a go, but it looks like Josh Hayes was able to hold on to it. Yeah, so Hayes still out front. Roger Hayden in 2nd. Tony Elias on the 24 in 3rd. And I'm liking what I'm seeing right now from Bobby Fong a lot.
Yeah, you know what? The worst part about this for me, for Cameron, is now we have so many competitive Superstock riders and Superstock bikes. These guys race so hard and amongst themselves. You see these top 3 guys going after each other. Wow, Tony just made a huge mistake there. I don't know if he caught a false neutral or he missed the blip on the throttle, but you saw him have to release the lever and pull the lever back in. Got all kinds of out of shape there as he headed into turn 5. Looked like he wanted to commit to a pass on Raj and then thought better of it. Kind of got caught in a gray area there, but he's quickly responded by getting himself back on track again here.
Bobby Fong, right on a Superstock 1000 machine, is right in the mix.
Yep.
As we can see different line choices from number 4 Hayes and 95 Roger Hayden. No real drama there. That's just kind of the way that they choose to go through that corner. So Hayes leads the way from Hayden, and here we go.
But this is what I'm saying, Greg. These Superstock bikes are so close to Superbikes now that if Cameron's not careful, he's going to get in amongst a battle of 6, 7, 8 of these Superstock bikes that can really determine how things are going. As I'm watching them go down the front straightaway, you see Cameron, he's got to break loose of all those Superstock riders behind him. You got Skolch, you got Herring. They're all trying to chase Bobby Fong.
I don't know if Bobby Fong thinks that he needs to impress anyone because he's off to Europe next week to race in the World Superstock 1000. But Bobby Fong has set the fastest lap of the race so far at a 21.373.
That's flying. That's only 3/10 off the pole, which was set by Josh Hayes on Superbike at a 21 flat. So Bobby Fong, right now, these tires are so good, and I'm telling you right now, these Superstock bikes, the bikes that you can go buy off the showroom floor, look at how good he's making this bike look. Kawasaki ZX-10, it's just nice to have a Kawasaki in the field, but Bobby Fong's making it look really, really good right now. This team has worked tremendously hard. You heard Bobby say something pretty poignant in his interview just now on the podium after the first race, where he said he felt like he should have given his team more wins. Well, he's trying to get him a second one today.
Quicksilver, latest motorsports, Kawasaki. That team started the year. This is their first year running big motorcycles. They ran Triumph 600, 675s for a long, long time. And they have done a great job of getting Bobby Fong more comfortable and working on this motorcycle. And Fong continues to work not only on his racing craft, but he constantly is working on the mental aspect of this. As Josh Hayes now is coming under fire from 95 Roger Hayden. Here comes Tony Elias. As way off in the distance, Matthew Schultz. So there goes Roger Hayden. He'll take the point. And that gold motorcycle you saw way back there. Well, Hayes, big mistake from Hayes. He ran it in there pretty deep.
Yep, he just ran in there a little bit wide. It was a horrible spot to try to go underneath somebody like Elias. Just did this really, really bumpy. So there was a lot of respect between those two riders there. But you can see what's happening.
Here goes Roger Hayden.
And right now, as long as Jake Gagne in the pits, it's such a shame to see this kind of thing again. And like I said, all these guys down there, Danny and Scotty, and all those guys have been working so hard on giving this guy a bike, and they just haven't had luck this year, but I know they'll come back strong.
So it's Roger Hayden now leading from his teammate, Tony Elias. Josh Hayes is in third spot. Couple of sloppy corners, and this is the result of that as Roger Hayden took point. And now, I can't believe I'm getting ready to say this, Josh Hayes might be coming under fire from Bobby Fong.
He might not be. He is. The fact is that Bobby Fong is sitting right there. We'll see exactly what that Kawasaki Superstock bike has against this factory Yamaha Superbike as it comes down the front straightaway here in a minute. But the thing is these are good laps right now for Bobby. He's able to separate himself from the field that he's got to race against on new tires. But I'm really interested to see now what happens at the front. And the thing is Cameron back there in fifth can see that Josh isn't leading, but this is going to be a dogfight, this race right now. There it goes.
There goes Tony Elias up the inside on Roger Hayden. Roger, for a moment, has to lift, and he'll give way to Josh Hayes. So Tony Elias makes his way to the front. Big wheelie out of Elias. And now Roger Hayden's got to worry about Bobby Fong behind him. But Josh Hayes goes with Tony Elias. Different riding styles from these riders for the same lap time. So Hayes back in contention for the race lead at this point, which is what he has to do in order to give himself a fighting chance in this championship. It does not matter right now. If it finished like this, Beaubier wouldn't even have to finish the race, and he would win it by a single point. So Josh Hayes in the fight of his life.
Beaubier and Herron are coming too, back there in fifth and sixth. We made comment that Josh Herron had a big problem in the first race, and we didn't find out what that was. But I knew that he was better than where he finished. He's up to sixth right now, and he's closing in on that battle for first. Here, our first four position.
Oh, it looks like Tony Elias. Sorry, JP.
Nope,
I didn't mean to cut you off. Elias went wide, and Hayes knew that nice tight line that he always takes. He's able to sneak it right underneath, and bam, just like that, it's Hayes in the lead. But Tony Elias is a small guy. He gets behind that bubble, and that Yoshimura Suzuki GSXR 1000 sure boogies down the straightaway in a hurry.
Whoa! Wow.
Whoa!
Runs off the track, and that's going to give Tony an opportunity to draft back by. He's just going to not let, he just doesn't pull the brake lever on that hard. Let's see if he doesn't run wide. It looks like he's got that bike turned where he needs it to be.
So Josh Hayes off the edge of the racetrack. He'll throw some dirt at his competitors. He gathers it back up, but my heart skipped a beat on that one. I know Hayes had to as well. So now it's Elias 24, Hayes 4, 95, Roger Hayden. And hanging tough, hanging back there, right off there, just a couple of bike lengths, number 50, Bobby Fong on a Superstock 1000 machine.
And this is the thing. Josh Hayes knows how to race like Tony Elias. He does. He knows how to do this. He knows he's got to win this race, Greg, so he's going to rough up Tony the best he can, too. He likes these kind of fights, does Josh Hayes. You never know it by his demeanor, but he's not afraid to mix it up. He's not afraid to stuff his bike up underneath you.
You know, it's interesting, though. Josh Hayes and Tony Elias are connected through WhatsApp, that app on your phone where you just use Wi-Fi to talk when Tony's over in Europe. And Tony said a couple days ago, before Tony came to the States, Josh WhatsApped him and just said, hey, man, we're going to battle it out. We're going to really be fighting. And Tony actually likes that. He likes the chit-chat because they followed it up. Hayes did yesterday with, why don't you come spend the winter with us in Southern California and train with us? Something Tony's not used to. He loves the trash talking, and he's used to it. But Tony made a comment about how friendly this paddock can be, even with competition. Yep. So it's Tony Elias leading the way from Josh Hayes, but also want to make note that Cameron Beaubier is starting to close up on the back of Bobby Fong as well.
Close on the back, Greg. We've got almost 9 riders nose to tail. Like, I know our screenshot right now is showing these 4 or 5, but we've got 6, good 7 riders that are all running low 22s. We see Kyle Wyman's ran his quickest lap of the race, 22.3. He's back in 9th place, but he's only 3.7 seconds off the lead. So this is just going right back into what we've been talking about all year, how close our racing has been. And Cameron Beaubier is now sucked up onto the back of these guys at a 21.9 on that last lap. He's right on the back of Bobby Fong. He's brought Josh Herron with him. He's brought Matthew Schultz with him, and Claudio Corti, who we saw crash in the first race.
So here's a replay looking at a real tight shot, and there goes Josh Hayes up the inside. And man, that was as close as you like it. And Hayes in there a little bit, and there goes a little bumping and grinding. Hayes had to lift.
He just couldn't quite get the bike slowed down. If he'd have pulled the brake lever on anymore, he ran the risk of losing the front and taking them both down. So Josh just kind of let that bike run a little bit wide, and it opened up the door for Tony to go back through. Now, Josh is close enough this lap to try to draft Tony down into turn 1. The big thing is that Tony just doesn't, he'll just let the brake off. So we'll see what happens here as they go down into that turn 1 area.
Hayes looking a little bit desperate up the inside, leaving it very late. And there he goes. He'll take the lead again, but go wide. And oh, wow! That was close. Tony Elias is not scared.
Nope, and that's what these guys will both continue to do. And Raj's going to sit there and just say, okay, what are these guys, what's going to happen here? Raj, we have seen Raj in this position all year. Raj's bike looks so good in the first race. It's going to be hard for Raj to pass these guys because they're both going to be going after each other down into turn 1 area all the time. His kind of pass is going to have to be an element of surprise, a big surprise if Raj wants to try to win a second race today.
And back behind them, it looked like Cam Beaubier now is right on the back of Bobby Fong. And you got to think that Bobby Fong has had to really push to keep that Superstock 1000 machine in tow with these Superbikes. So it looks like he's going to fall victim to Cameron Beaubier. That's going to move Beaubier up to a nice, comfortable 4th place position if he can get by. But these top 3 locked in this battle. Tony Elias leading the way from Josh Hayes. Hayes has tried a couple of times to put Tony behind him, but he knows that Tony's a fighter. So now Hayes is kind of sitting back there. I think he's going to regroup a little bit and start to think of another strategy on how he's going to get by him. Onto the front straightaway we come here in just a moment. We'll see what kind of drive Hayes wants to get. He knows Rogers behind him. There's Tony Elias tucked behind the bubble.
Great drive.
Oh, amazing. So up, side by side they go. Little wiggle out of the Yamaha R1. Hayes will take over the lead for a moment. Can he hold it tight this time as Elias slows it down? Oh, so Hayes holds on.
Problem is when you overslow a bike at the apex like Josh had to do to keep Tony behind him, when you crack the throttle on it, it's in a different part of the RPM, so the bike's going to spin up a little bit quicker because he has to keep it on the edge of the tire to slow the bike down. He got the bike slowed down, screwed the throttle on, and you saw the bike just move just a little bit under acceleration. So now what's going to happen here is Tony going to fire right back. You got to think that when they go back down this front straightaway, that little draft coming out of that last corner is going to make it easy for Tony to try to pull up alongside. And we're going to probably see this scenario over and over again as Bobby Fong continues to hold off Cameron Beaubier.
He's back there. Also, there's a great battle going on with Matthew Schultz and Claudio Corti as Josh Herron as well. Right behind them, there's a great battle for the Superstock 1000 going on as Claudio Corti and his team say they're going to go over to World Superbike and compete at the final 2 rounds. So it's going to be interesting to see Claudio Corti jump over to World Superbike on an Aprilia with that Houston Superbike team as well. So lap 9 of 25 is done and dusted. We're getting ready to click off lap number 10 as Hayes now starting to eke out a bit of an advantage up over the dirt on the exit. There's Bobby Fong looking so smooth right now on that Kawasaki. I'll tell you what, that Superstock 1000 ZX-10R has got some legs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cameron Beaubier didn't reel him in. It was just very similar, and that really shows you what kind of drives Bobby Fong's getting.
That's exactly right. No, the Kawasaki ZX-10 right out of the box is going to be a very, very fast motorcycle. So, but all our standard bikes these days are very fast out of the box. They rag, and we saw Josh start to pull away just a little bit in the last half of that last lap. But these guys have drawn back up to the back of him, and he's going to have a go at him going into turn 6.
There goes Tony up the inside. Hayes had to know it's coming. Oh, he has to lift because Tony can't get a turn, and that means Roger Hayden's going to slide on through. So Tony Elias dive bombed in there. He gets by Hayes, and Hayes has to lift. And now we're left with 2 Yoshimura Suzukis leading the race.
And you saw what Raj did. I can't explain it to you enough. When you're in a battle like this and you see the guy in front of you or 2 places in front of you get stood up, you've got to attack him right away. So Raj, as soon as that door opened up behind Tony, he dived in there himself. Now he's got himself up into second. So You can see how far through the corner Tony's looking. So if this pass is set up through this very fast kink, Tony's going to go in there. And at this point now, he's pulling on the lever as hard as he can, getting that bike slowed down, trying to control that apex speed. He's going to run a little bit wide, but he runs Josh a little bit wide also, and it allows Rods to take advantage of that too.
Yoshimura Suzuki teammates going after it. Roger Hayden just behind Tony Elias, as Elias is very typical. He's a late breaker. He likes to carry a lot of speed through the corner, as his Moto2 World Championship would show you. So Roger Hayden there on the Yoshimura Suzuki, just ahead of Monster Energy Graves Yamahas. Josh Hayes, as Hayes desperate to get back out front and lead this race. We're getting close to the halfway point. So now Hayes, he was having to study Tony Elias and what lines he was using. Now he's got to figure out Roger Hayden, as Tony Elias starts to eke away. He has a look over his shoulder. That's very typical of Tony. We see him look over quite a bit. He likes to know what's going on behind him.
Well, sometimes when you put in a really good first sector and you came by your board, maybe they have, you know, +0 on your board, but when you put your head down and you put in a really good first sector, you might take a little peek over your shoulder just to see if you've done any kind of breaking away. Right now, he's done that. He's broken away just a little bit. If you call this a breakaway, he's probably only 0.4 seconds ahead, but all down through this next section, Raj is extremely good, and Tony doesn't need to look back too much further. He ran a little bit wide in that little kink right-hander there, and that just let Raj close right back up onto the back of him.
If you take out New Jersey Motorsports Park the first time we were here in the rain, the largest margin of victory this year in the dry was COTA race number 2, 4 seconds by this rider right here, number 24, Tony Elias. The rest of these races have all been decided by such narrow margins with 1.1 seconds, the largest margin of victory, that I think when we're looking at this Superbike field, Jason, and we see 3 to 4 to 5 bike lengths separating Tony Elias and Roger Hayden, and we say it's a bit of a breakaway, I think what we're really saying is Roger isn't close enough to attack. No, because that's what we have seen, you know, race in and race out all year long, is these riders constantly attacking each other. So it's that matter of Roger Hayden has got to close down a few bike lengths here if he's going to have a shot at Tony Elias. There's also that possibility that we're at lap 12, 13 range. Sometimes we see this race settle down in the middle. Riders know what they have. They've already been through this a few hours ago about their tires, how long they're going to last. And if Tony's not getting away, maybe Roger Hayden right now is just content to hang tight. Yeah, and you can see the difference in lines even down there through turns 7 and 8. We'll make a point of it the next time they go through that area. Tony runs it in there a little bit faster and carries more roll speed at the beginning part of that corner, which is the slowest, and lets the bike run out wide. So he's not creating as much lean. Raj gets the bike turned in there, doesn't take up as much track, but he's got a little bit more lean angle, and he's able to close up just a little bit. And as they come onto this front straightaway, Raj is right on the back of him. They drop Josh just ever so slightly, looking at 22.3s for the 2 leaders, 22.7 for Josh Hayes. Bobby Pham still continuing in 4th place overall, 22.7 for him too. So he's pacing what Josh Hayes is doing. Also note Claudio Corti has moved up to 5th spot around Cameron Beaubier. So also Josh Herron attacking Cam Beaubier. So Beaubier right now on a backward march. He is really in championship mode, as we expected he should be. Yeah, and the thing is though, Greg, is that all these guys here everybody's so close together that are behind Cameron. Yeah. He's got to be careful he doesn't drop back to 15th or something, and then his teammate goes out and sneaks out a win. That's what he's got to be careful of. So there's so many guys that are close together. 15th place right now is 19 seconds behind the leader, and right now Cameron is 5 seconds behind the leader. So that's what you got to kind of look at. We pay back to 15th spot, by the way. 15th place is worth 1 single point. So if for some reason Cam Beaubier drops back to 16th, that's 0. If Hayes wins, that, my friends, is a national championship. If that unfolds, I think I'll lose my voice. The problem is you kind of get out of your rhythm a little bit if you're Cameron. You're second guessing a lot of the moves that you're making. You'll hear him say after this race, it's the hardest race that he's ever ridden, as Raj has a run on Tony right now as they come down the front straightaway. The thing is you get out of your rhythm when you have all these guys around you all the time. You see +0, +0. Right now I'm looking back, and as I see Cameron go across, he's got 0.4 of a second on Herron, and then 0.2 of a second on Herron. So, you know, he's just going to come under fire from a lot of people. As you see, Herron's now gotten through on Cameron. And he might just be content. Let's follow Josh Herron. That's a good guy to follow. Can pace himself a little bit and draw himself away from the guys behind him. Massively different riding styles. You can see Cameron Beaubier sits very centered on that motorcycle. He's offset to the right side, going through those corners. where a rider like Josh Herrin really likes to get that head down and on the outside of his wrist, doing exactly the same lap times with different riding styles. That's what we see in this series, as we see the same thing with Tony Elias and his teammate Roger Hayden. Tony really likes to get off the side of that motorcycle. Hayden very much in alignment with the center of his bike. So right now it's Tony Elias. We're at lap 14. We're working on lap 15 right now. The times are 22.4, 22.4. Hayes able to do a 22.3 that last lap. So we might be in that part of the race where things are starting to settle down. Hayes giving himself a little bit of a gap, possibly just to see the racetrack. You talked about it in race number 1. If you're too close to your competitors, it can be very difficult to find the line you want. Roger Hayden with a great drive out of the final corner, but Tony Elias will take that outside run, that swooping line into turn number 1. Man, he gets in there well, doesn't he?
He gets in there really well, and that's what's going to be hard for Raj, because, you know, we've seen Josh be able to just let the brake off like Tony, and Tony lets the brake off. That's kind of the guy who started this stuff this year. Raj just hasn't shown that he's able to just like release the lever and just kind of unplug. And that's going to make it hard for him to go past Tony at the end of the straightaway. That's why I'm saying he's going to have to do something in kind of a spot that's going to surprise everybody. And the one spot that I see the most right now is that turn 7. Right now they're going through turn 5. And what we'll start to pay attention to is they accelerate out of turn 5 down here into turn 6. There's definitely two distinct lines in this next thing. We're looking at Corey Alexander right now. Oh gosh, Corey just got it all wrong a little bit going there down into turn 5 area. So he's back on track. I did see that his lap time was 1:46 that last time through. So we'll keep an eye on him to see if he continues to go around. But kind of missed the point I was going to get to. But turn 7 there is a spot where I see two distinct different lines. And it's just going to be a matter of whose tire lasts longer. Because if Tony keeps running a kind of a wider line and his tire goes off at all, but Raj can hook it, it might be a spot where he can surprise him. You can see Tony sliding it a lot coming out of the last corner.
Well, for Josh Hayes, we can't say this one's even close to being over. We've seen him drop back in race number 1 and then reel the leader back in. But how about Superstock 1000 leader on the track right now? Bobby Fong, he is only 2.7 seconds adrift on the Kawasaki. It's a Quicksilver, latest Motorsports Kawasaki ZX-10R. And Bobby Fong has really got his head dialed into the game. I talked to him yesterday before qualifying. How you doing? And he looked at me and said, you know how I'm doing? Not good. It's my head as usual. But he's been working with Joe Kopp, former dirt track star, and Joe's been really working on the mental aspect of Bobby Fong's game, and it's obviously paying dividends right now. It looks like Fong just needed a start, Jason.
Absolutely, and if he can just hold on, it'd be bookend wins. He won the first 2, I believe, in Texas. He would win the last 2 here at New Jersey. Hopefully we don't do the old commentary. This is turn 7 here. You see how Tony gets it out there a little bit wider than Raj. Raj is a little bit tighter. Josh is a little bit tighter, but both lines work. This is what I try to tell people. You've got to be able to look at a track and be able to distinguish a couple things.
So Jason, if you're Roger Hayden and you're looking at Tony Elias and he's running a little bit quicker than you say, and he's taking a wider line, why not just adjust your line and run what he's running?
Well, I don't know right now if it is quicker. It looks to me like Raj kind of cuts that gap down a little bit in the last part of this lap. Where Tony seems to make up his time is from turn 1 to almost like our little wheelie jump in the back straightaway there. And then literally from turn 5 to turn 12 there, Raj looks like he pulls it back in a little bit. You can see the gap that I'm talking about right now, Greg. This gap will extend by the time.
Oh, wait a second.
Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness, no! Is this possible? Do I see smoke coming out of the number 1 motorcycle? Oh, my goodness. Cameron Beaubier right now has got problems.
He's got to pull off
with his Monster Energy Graves Yamaha. Oh, my goodness. Is this possible? This changes the complexity of everything, because if Josh Hayes finds out, he has got to throw all caution to the wind if he wants to try to wrap up that number 1 plate. If you don't finish this race, there are no points. And look, Jason, it looked like the motor let go.
Yeah, the motor definitely let go. And we've seen we've seen something like this a couple times. We've seen Josh a couple years ago have the same exact problem at Daytona. Now Cameron is, look.
Wow.
He's got to rely now. The 2 Yosh guys are his best friend. You know, all Josh has to push now. It's going to be interesting to see what's on Josh's pit board. If it says Cam's out, you're going to see a Josh Hayes that we haven't seen in a little while. So, but I feel horrible for Cameron Beaubier right now. But he can look at this thing right now and say, you know what? These guys are 2 seconds ahead of Josh. Tony Elias right now has almost got a 2-second lead on Josh Hayes. It looks devastating right now for Cameron Beaubier, but it would look a lot worse if his teammate was in second place and pulling away.
Right now, third place rider, Josh Hayes, has the ability to win a national championship. All he has to do, and I say that tongue-in-cheek, is go catch a couple of fast Yoshimura Suzuki riders. So Cameron Beaubier's motor let go, his motorcycle stopped, and now Beaubier, all he can do is sit on the side of the track.
And Josh will have just
unfold.
seen that. Josh will have just seen off to the left-hand side there that Cameron was walking dejectedly away from his motorcycle. Absolutely. But the motivation on number 4, you can see he ran a little bit wide back there. And he ran a little bit wide in turn 5. I'm sure it was a distraction for Josh to see Cameron walking off the track. He knows now, wow, I've got 6 laps. The last lap through, 22 flat for Raj Hayden. And now, all Cameron, look at this. See how, that's what I was talking about earlier. The wide, 100%. You can see how Raj closed up on that section. This is what I've been speaking of. By taking a longer, wider arc through there, he's on the edge of the tire for a little bit longer. As Cameron is just so dejected right now. The thing is that Raj is able to still cut that bike a little bit tighter. Tony is wearing out the edge of his tire just a little bit longer. Raj is getting in there a little slower, getting the bike turned and getting it upright by carrying a tighter arc. And you can see now, Raj can get up on the back of him on the last half of that lap.
I'm going to tell you, Josh Hayes needs this right now. He needs Roger Hayden to throw a shot at Tony Elias and let these riders go racing each other and slow them down. 1.6 seconds. Hayes is 1.6 seconds away from even giving himself a chance to win another national championship. No one expected it coming into this day. The Monster Energy Graves Yamahas have been absolutely flawless all season, and now this.
And we also got to think, Josh may have made a small adjustment to his motorcycle from the first race because he had a problem, didn't have the grip he wanted. If that affected the bike adversely in this race, that could be the difference because it doesn't look like he's got the same pace as he did in the first one. I'm watching the splits right now. First split was about the same as the leader. Second split, same as the leader. He's not closing in right now the way he needs to close in.
So there you go, right part of your screen. You saw the points difference right now. It's 6 points to Cameron Beaubier. What a way to win a championship on the side of the racetrack with a motorcycle that stopped running. It is all out of Cameron Beaubier's control right now, and it's up to these 2 riders, Tony Elias and Roger Hayden, and their desire to just win a race to finish off the season. Josh Hayes, wow, he has been in many situations in his racing career, but right now, Josh Hayes knows exactly what he has to do, and he has had a bit of ragged time at it. Now 2 seconds the gap.
Yep, it just seems a bit much right now. I mean, we all know how great Josh is, and he can pull us back in, but he is going to have to run a couple laps here, a half a second quicker than these guys, or hope that they hold each other up. Now, being teammates, I know that they're not going to really start racing each other till maybe the last 2 laps of the race. Raj and I had a long discussion about this just the other night about, hey, if we're racing these 2 Yamaha guys, let's go ahead and be a little bit good with each other and then settle this at the end, kind of like we've seen those guys do at Barber this year, where these 2 Yosh bikes were out front and then they started going after each other. Right now, Josh has that working against him, and they're just pulling away from him still, just a little bit too much, and it's got to be disheartening.
Right now, Josh Hayes is looking at a couple of Yoshimura Suzukis, GSXR 1000s, and they are getting away ever so slightly, and that is his championship getting away.
Yeah, those guys are both spinning as they come up that hill, and so is Josh, but you know, nothing is over until it's over. These 2 Yosh guys could get in each other's way and do something silly, you just never know. But knowing that that championship is just 1.6 seconds up the road from you is just got to be driving Josh nuts right now that he can't just quite get on the back. I'm sure he's just hoping that Raj will dive bomb or do something with Tony to disrupt the flow of what Elias has going on right now.
Josh Hayes has won 7 championships in this series before, and now he's looking at Roger Hayden. He's hoping Roger Hayden is going to get by Tony Elias and maybe slow that pace down. As Hayes now.
Well, I don't think that Raj would slow the pace down. It's just a matter of him getting past his teammate.
I agree. They can pass each other just because it was 1.60, then 1.66. Now the gap is 1.9. So Hayes is losing time.
And you get to a point as a racer, no matter how headstrong you are, that when you start seeing yourself losing time, you start pushing harder, you make a little mistake here, you lose a tenth, you lose a tenth, you lose a tenth. Next thing you know, it's up to 2.2 seconds with 3 to go, and you start doing the math in your head. It's a natural thing to do. That time, Josh gets ripping out of turn 5, really good out of there, but it might just be a little bit too late.
If you're just joining us on BN Sports, we're watching Superbike race number 2, the final of the season. Leading the way, number 24, Tony Elias. Right behind him, his teammate, number 95, Roger Hayden. Behind them, number 4, Josh Hayes. His teammate, teammate Cam Beaubier came into this race with a 22-point lead. All Josh Hayes has to do was win this race and let the rest sort itself out. Cameron Beaubier stopped on the side of the track. He will score 0 points. If Josh Hayes can reel these two in and pass them and win this race, he will be national champion, his 5th Superbike title. But right now, the Yoshimura Suzukis are sorting it out between themselves. They could care less what's going on with Yamaha. All Roger Hayden, number 95, wants to do is beat his teammate, and all Tony Elias wants to do is head back to Europe with a race win under his belt.
Tony missed a shift there going in, so he actually came out of turn 1 a gear too tall. You saw him backshift as he went back up into turn 2. Here's our battle for Superstock. Keep in mind, Bobby Fong is 7 seconds out in front of these two guys. This is Josh Herring and Claudio Corti battling out for second. We've seen these guys battle all year long. So Josh Herring didn't have the first race that he wanted, but he sure is back on the podium here for his second race. And you can see both these guys hanging it out good. Tires look good on both of them, but Bobby Fong, how about him? He's still running fourth, Greg.
Josh Herring, national champion. He ran off. He made a mistake in race number 1. For the first time, he got back on track, then he hit a false neutral, ran off again, and he just went to his crew and said, don't worry about it, I'll give it another go. We'll get on the podium one more time. Herring with a lot of confidence in that Mean Motorsports Yamaha, battling it out with Claudio Corti, the Italian who showed up this year on this Aprilia Super Stock 1000 machine. All bets are that next year this HSBK team will be on full-blown Aprilia Superbikes. We're hoping to hear word on that, as Claudio Corti expected to stay with that team. So back up front now, lap 23. So it's going to be 2 or 3 laps to go in this one when they come across the line. So 3 laps remain for Josh Hayes to try to close this gap. And last time by, Jason, the gap, it stayed the same. It went up to 2.3. It's now 2.2. So Hayes right now hoping that this battle, that something is going to happen between these two riders. But you are looking and witnessing the last race of this particular model of Suzuki GSXR 1000. As during the off-season, we expect a brand new motorcycle to come out. Yoshimura Suzuki has to basically start from ground zero and build that Superbike up as we go racing for the 2017 season. It's not out yet, but we expect April at COTA to be the first round.
Keep in mind, Greg, neither one of these two guys have any championship aspirations right now. There's nothing on the line. All these guys want to do is try to win. Is that going to be enough to make Rod just go, okay, I got to try something, I got to try something. I got to give something a shot here. Try to get by this, yeah, and you just never know. Rod's in there just a little bit deep, a little bit wide, going up into turn 9. And it's funny because these guys are pushing at the absolute limit. They're still doing 22s, and they've just broken Josh. Now, we've got a bunch of traffic ahead of us as we see these guys getting ready to come onto the front straightaway. They're going to have 3 different riders that they're going to have to pass on this next lap. As I'm looking at Max Flinders, what a heads-up job by him. He's letting those 2 leaders go through. There's 2 other guys going off into turn 2 right now.
Oh, Hayden sideways, trying to close the gap on Elias. And Jason, that is the closest we have seen Roger Hayden to get into turn 1 on Tony Elias.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, I almost think that Tony Elias is not going down 1 extra gear just to kind of make it more simple, because I've seen him now all backshift, it looks like. You see Claudio Corti going underneath Josh Herring in turn 1, but it almost looks like he's going through there in a gear too tall so that he can keep up a bunch of speed and kind of screw Rogers' momentum up, because I've seen him backshift twice now on the exit of turn 1.
So Claudio Corti, this is the battle for 2nd spot in the Superstock 1000 class. This is for 5th and 6th on the racetrack. And Herring and Claudio Corti are no strangers to each other this year, as Claudio Corti is known as a rider who gives no quarters to anyone. He just likes to go after it at all times. He's always got a big smile on his face, does the Italian, as Josh Herring trying to get his Mean Motorsports Yamaha, the #1 plate that he will have for next season. He already has it actually on his mantle. He's trying to get that bike on the podium. So what a turn of events we have had here. All the while, folks, the rider who could be champion again is sitting on the sidelines watching these 2 Yoshimura Suzukis. I don't think for Cam Beaubier he has ever been a bigger fan of Suzuki than right now. He may not say it publicly, but with the white flag flying on this final lap, it looks like these 2 riders are going to have to settle it between themselves on who's going to win. And that means Josh Hayes is going to have 16 points. Not enough to wrap up his 5th Superbike title. So here we go, that final lap. Roger Hayden very close now, just a bike length behind. A little bobble from Hayden as he transitions his motorcycle and gets on the gas. Little wheelie from the 24 of Tony Elias.
It's going to take something big. This is the first shot you got to go. Tony's going to run it in there pretty deep, and he's going to run it in there pretty tight as they go through turn 5 there. They accelerate out turn 6. This is where they're going to be coming up to turn 7, where we've noticed Raj is just a little bit tighter. Tony gets a little loose going into turn 6. Still carried a lot of corner speed through there. This is the one area on the track where these two lines have been a lot different as they start heading up this hill, but Raj isn't close enough here right now.
Tony Elias, at least the rear end of his motorcycle staying in line, as Roger Hayden, who's a crafty dirt tracker all his life. He knows how to square corners up. He knows how to get good drives. The only hope Roger has at this point is going to be on to the front straightaway.
Can he draft him, Greg?
I don't know. Oh, Tony Elias sideways. That might open the door for Roger Hayden. He goes up the inside. Side by side they go. Here's the drive on to the straightaway. Here we go. It's a big drag race. Tony Elias will take the win. Boy, the door was open. Wow. Roger Hayden in second by 0.15 of a second. And Josh Hayes will come home 4 seconds. 4 seconds away from another national championship.
We've got to see what Cameron Beaubier is looking like right now. He's probably over there clapping for these two guys, you know?
And Josh Hayes, if I know Josh Hayes, if Cameron's still out on the course,
he'll probably pick him up.
He'll probably pick him up. That's the kind of guy that Hayes is. Tony Elias will win this one. 0.156 of a second over his teammate Roger Hayden. And Tony left the door open. He gave himself a lot of work.
No, he's looking at Cameron right now. He's looking over there going, oh my gosh, what just happened? And you're 100% right. We don't see the number 4 bike there, and that's probably because he's over there picking up his teammate. And you know the other thing he's going to say too is he's just going to say, I didn't have it today. I just didn't.
Yep.
I just didn't have it underneath me. And he's going to probably give credit to these two guys. He's going to be happy for Cameron, and he's going to lace the boots up again during the offseason and get ready to go. And he'll be a threat next year. But Tony Elias finishes 7 points out of the championship himself when you think about it. So
and actually really close to Josh Hayes in this one too.
Yep.
And that was a battle for second place.
Didn't look like he picked him up.
He didn't pick him up.
He didn't pick him up. So forget all that.
Maybe somebody already went out and got Cameron Beaubier and ushered him back to victory circle, because what a way! I mean, what a way to win a championship.
A lot of
on
emotions.
The sidelines.
Yeah,
on
a lot
the
of different
sidelines.
emotions.
I mean, poor Cameron Beaubier. When that motor let go, his heart probably sank, and he just had to sit there and completely out of his control, just hope for that number 1 plate. Well, folks, if you weren't on the edge of your seat for this one, I think you better call the doctor and get your heart checked, because you weren't alive. My heart was pumping out of my chest. We have a national champion. When we come back, we're going to talk to these race winners, second, third, and a champ. So stay with us on BN Sports. You want to talk about an interesting turn of events here in MotoAmerica Superbike Championship. A lot of people thought that Cam Beaubier had this thing all wrapped up. All he had to do was finish in the top 10, no big deal. And his motor expires. At least that's what it looked like. Smoke coming out of it. Beaubier had to park it. And he left it to these two riders to sort out his championship. And this was the last bit, huh, Jason?
Yeah, that's coming to the... Tony's a little bit different there than Raj also as far as the line goes. And you can see he caught a couple bumps there, just kind of just on the edge of the tire under acceleration. That's all it is. It happens every lap to somebody through there, I'm sure. And just happened to Tony on the last one. Raj was able to go underneath him, going underneath the bridge. And then they kind of swapped back across as they came across the line. Tony was able to take care of it. We'll head on down to Christy Lee.
Third place finisher, Josh Hayes. What an interesting turn of events during that race. A lot of back and forth position changes early on. I'm sure you saw Cameron Beaubier on the sidelines as you passed him. What was going on in your head throughout that race?
You know, for the race, I definitely was a little disappointed with my race. I wanted to be more in the race, up in the front racing with those guys, and I really thought that I should have been. And I had the bike. I had the bike to win, and I broke my weapon. I didn't do something right, and I wasn't quite able to use it today. Felt gutted for Cameron, and I wanted to be in the race to win the race, not thinking about the championship. I think Cameron did his job this year. He earned it honestly, and I'm happy that he got the #1 plate, and I think I managed to hold on to second in the championship, so that's pretty good. And I'm just gonna have to take this and roll with it, and we'll see you in COTA next year.
Number 4, Josh Hayes taking a third place finish today.
What can you say? Always a class act, right?
Yeah, for sure. And, he's disappointed. You can't not be.
But he also means what he says.
And when he says that, he kind of broke his toy or he broke his bike or whatever he says, I think that might be the adjustment. Might have been that little adjustment that he made that something didn't quite go right. He didn't tell us, but I'm sure that's probably what he meant.
All right, so Roger Hayden will end the season 1-2, and he's with Christy.
Roger Hayden taking a first-place finish in race number 1, second-place finish in race number 2. We know you wanted that win, and you fought hard with your teammate on that Yoshimura Suzuki.
Yeah, it was a good fight, with Tony. I knew that was my strongest part of the track, and he was really good on the brakes, so I was saving that for the last lap. I really wanted to try to get the drive out of the last corner, but he made a mistake. So I thought maybe I could surprise him there. It's a little bit of a hairy place to try to pass, but it was good. It was a good race. It was fun. Awesome way to end the season with the win and a second, and Yoshimura Suzuki winning both races. So, I can't thank the whole team, and, looking forward to many more.
Big day today for Roger Lee Hayden, second-place finish.
Good day for Raj. Now he can go get to his 3 different fantasy football teams that he's managing. That's what he's going to do all off season.
That's right. Make
Talk
sure
to
you
him
follow,
a long time about that.
Yeah, follow Roger on Instagram, and you'll find out how all this football goes.
But a good way for him to end the year, getting another victory and close second to his teammate. And I know Christy Lee, that guy right there, Tony's going to be pretty happy.
The race win that you've been looking for today, you fought hard with Roger Lee Hayden and made some really big moves to keep that lead.
Yes, finally I start better on the start, and then just when I go out of the pit in a second race with more temperature on the grid, I told my chief, now the bike is working much better, the tire have much more grip because the temperature increased, and I think I can fight for win, and it's what happened. No, I start well, easy, I arrive on top, and I had a big battles, very nice race, and I didn't expect Roger pass me in the last corner. He did it. He had a big balls, but I've been lucky to pass him again, and I'm very happy the season finished in the best way. Thank you again, Suzuki, to give me this opportunity, and thank you all this paddock because treat me really well during the season, also the American fans. Next year, I will be back again and I will try to fight for the championship.
6 wins to his name this season. Number 24, Tony Elias.
So there you go, Tony, always with a smile on his face.
Love
and
that
he
guy.
really does it. It's interesting when you work with these riders in the MotoGP paddock, and oftentimes they're really difficult to get to. But when Tony came in here, I thought, oh, is he going to be able to adjust to this? And he's done an absolutely fantastic job. So you know what the big story though of the day is, other than Tony Elias winning this? It's got to be Cameron Beaubier winning a national championship, sitting on the sidelines, and he's with Christy right now.
Cameron, we're going to take a moment to pause from the championship celebration. I got to ask you first, what happened to your machine?
I don't know. I mean, my team is so strong, the Monster Energy Graves Yamaha team. It's just a great group of guys, great family, and it's pretty rare that we have a malfunction like that. And man, it just reminded me how bad I want this thing when I was sitting there on the wall, just kind of in disbelief. And yeah, I just got to give it up to my Monster Energy Graves Yamaha guys. Man, my helmet, Bell, and Alpine Star Leathers for keeping me safe, and the man above for letting me do what I do for a living. I'm kind of speechless, honestly. Yeah, thank you.
Speechless on the grid earlier before the race, and speechless now that he's captured the championship. There he is, number 1, Cameron Beaubier.
Can't even imagine the roller coaster of emotion. Wow. Can you imagine?
No, I can't. I can't imagine sitting there on the side of the track, and he's probably sitting there saying to himself, come on, Raj, please don't take out Tony. Tony, please don't take out Raj. And all the while, there's just so many different emotions that you had to been going through. And it happened about midway through or just over midway through the race. So he had to sit out there for a long time and watch what was going on.
So here's a look at the results as Tony Elias wins by, of course, 0.156 seconds. The last 12 races, absolutely ridiculous. Less than 3 seconds the margin of victory if you add all of them up. Hayes, 4 seconds adrift. Bobby Fong, only 9.3 seconds on a Superstock 1000.
Amazing.
And by the way, Bobby Fong credited with the fastest lap of the race. Total, 121.373. He went faster than Elias, Hayden, and Hayes. And a great job. Hayden Gillum will finish off the season in 10th with Jeff May in 11th. And here's a look at the podium as you have a couple of Suzukis going 1-2. Tony Elliott, he is on the top step of the podium, by the way.
Yep.
Hard to tell from his hat position. Tony, a very small in statured young man.
Let's get on
But he gets
stage.
behind that bubble, and he sure can twist that grip. And then
the one and only Cameron
here's the number one
Beaubier.
plate of Cameron Beaubier. What a way to win a championship. I can't wait to talk to Cameron in a couple of weeks and really get down to the nitty-gritty on what emotions he was feeling after that after he had to pull that motorcycle off. Then he looked up and saw what position Hayes was.
All in all, there's the 4 that were in our championship chase all year long. And all 4 of these guys gave us great racing all year. They all won races. They all fought hard with each other. There was, you know, so I mean, it's good to see all 4 of them up there.
So here is the race that we just saw. When the light went out, it was Josh Hayes. He got a great start, and you know what? Kyle Wyman also had a good start on the 33, but Roger Hayden was able to get himself into second spot, and we saw kind of in the middle part of your screen there that Cam Beaubier just kind of slid back in 6th, 7th spot, and he was pretty content there.
From that point on, we knew that it was going to be a battle royal as Josh Hayes came up underneath Tony Elias, ran a little bit wide. You can see Tony square him up, get back off out of turn 5 there, and then it just kind of kept going back and forth between these two guys. Josh gets in here on this lap, gets in there a little bit wide. Tony's going to square him up again. They get close on the exit. And these two guys, we thought this is how it was going to be the whole way. Now, the difference is Tony gets underneath Josh and really gets the bike stopped, parked, little backed in, runs a little wide, opens that door. Raj says, I'll take a little bit of that too. From that point on, those two guys started to pull away, but then this was the big news. We couldn't believe it, Greg. You were out of your chair when this happened. Cameron Beaubier's bike all of a sudden expires. And now we've got a race for the championship as Cameron was just completely dejected. He's on the other side of the track, so he can't get across to the infield, folks. So he's going to be parked up against the fence. These two guys, though, all the way on to the last lap. Raj tries going underneath Tony in the fastest corner on the track. You heard what Tony said about that. But Tony was able to square him up again and come across the line for victory.
So Josh Hayes and Claudio Corti having a conversation. Corti asked him, did you win the championship? And Hayes has to say no. And here is confirmation of those standings. As when you look at it in the record books, you're going to see the margin of victory for this championship. 6 points. And how close was it for second place? Josh Hayes will hold on to second by 1 single point over Tony Elias. Roger Hayden, 27 back. Josh Herron will finish 5th overall in this championship to combine, but win the Superstock 1000. A good look at the crowd here. I think they had an enjoyable time, and we will see you again for 2017, no question about it. And make sure you check out all the social media on what all changes going to happen in this series. Thanks for joining us. For Jason and Christy, I'm Greg. Bye-bye. Cameron Beaubier with a nice run out of the final corner. Uncontested, he goes to take the checkered flag. Cameron Beaubier goes full stick with his hand in the air and will take the win here at New Jersey Motorsports Park.